What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Supper Suite at TIFF 2022. I've got the team behind Emily. Huge congratulations on your film.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a feeling you're going to do this a lot, Frances, but I need to pose this first question to start here. For anybody out there who does not know what Emily is, can you give us a brief synopsis of your movie?
A young girl in the middle of nowhere decides she's going to find out who she is, and she just happens to be Emily Brontë.
Nice. You nailed that.
Okay. I made that up on the spot.
I'm very impressed right now. So I was reading that you have been working on this for something like a decade. So what would you say is the biggest difference between what you envisioned for the film 10 years ago compared to how it turned out today?
I guess it was something that I kept returning to when I was working on other gigs as an actor. And I think just having that time, you have that kind of time to kind of deepen the work, I guess. And but I've already written my next thing, and I did not take a decade to write it. That's a little bit too long. But yeah,
Frances and I worked together about
God,
that
please
time.
Don't tell me I was writing it then.
You told me I'm thinking about writing a thing about Emily Brontë.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
isn't
remember.
that funny? God, yeah.
We were teenagers then.
Yeah.
Now we're in our mid-20s.
Kindergarten was fun. Yeah. No,
I don't know if this is story specific, but having taken so long and needed so much time to write Emily, and then having that next project just come right out of you, is there anything about the process of writing or making this movie that you think kind of like facilitated that happening?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on sets like my whole life, but there's something different about being on that side, and there is a certain blindness that you just, the only way you can learn how to do it is to walk through it. And it's just great to know that I've just learned so much, and I've got a whole bag of tools in terms of like my next one, things I won't have to think about that you have to think about really.
Is there a specific example you can share?
I guess editing is something that is so complicated and is such a mind F that it's something that the only way to learn how to do it is to do it. And if that's your first film, that's how you learn to edit. So, but fun, really fun.
I was about to blur it out. You can drop F-bombs, but we're in the Supper Suite, so maybe not. Emma, for you, I'm a big sex education fan, and I know it can be very important in like a high pressure situation when you're picking projects to fill the time in between seasons. So what are some of your priorities in terms of what you go out to pick? But then also I'm really curious because the things you have picked are so incredibly different. So what is something consistent about all those films that you need to see? But then also what is something about Emily that, you know, helped you scratch a creative itch that you've never done on any of the other projects and you need right now?
That's okay. I'm going to try and remember everything. There isn't a list of requirements necessarily that I look for, but what was so great about Emily is it was the right time for that kind of project. And I was really excited about working with a literary figure, so to speak. And it just felt like there was a lot to do. There was a lot to get our teeth stuck into. You know what I mean? It felt like a complete thing. There was a whole range of things to do and a palette of colors to explore. So it was really, it felt like a whole piece to do. So that was really exciting. And then, I've been very lucky to do different things. But it's always scripts. Same with Emily, it's you read the script and you have an instinct about it and you kind of just follow that.
Thus far, you seem to know the right scripts to pick, but also the right people to work with.
That's right.
No, this guy.
We're all so glad. Ali, I'll come to you next. So I know there's a lot of like mystery and the truth to the situation here, but what is something that you isolated as an important thing to highlight in the Emily-Charlotte relationship that you really wanted to make come through?
Ooh, I suppose it's the balance of kind of their love for one another, but also, for Charlotte, there was very much a sense of Emily being this kind of rebel or this difficult character was something Charlotte found very difficult because she was much more concerned about how other people saw her, whereas Emily just didn't care. Like she was just fine with being a weirdo. So it was kind of that thing of being able to balance the kind of love and care and the protectiveness with the kind of judgment and the judgment and the kind of frustration. So there's a lot of things, not one thing. Sorry.
It's important. You feel all those things coming through.
It's a complex relationship.
I'll add to the sibling dynamic, and I'll go to you next, Amelia. What do you think it is about Anne that, I guess, put her in a good position to be a mediator and understand her sister's truths when they couldn't really do the same thing for her or each other, for that matter?
I mean, I guess like being the youngest sibling, kind of seeing how the other siblings have grown up and have their dynamics and different things that they bicker on or get on with. I guess she was kind of like, you know, very observant, because, you know, in looking up, like researching stuff about her, I feel like she was very observant and stuff like this. So I tried to kind of take that on board when I was thinking about how she would be the mediator, and like, you know, because Charlotte and Emily's relationship's a bit like, well, a little bit all over the place. So yeah, I think it was probably like her way of trying to keep the peace in the house and like, you know, keep everyone loving one another and, you know, just kind of just being a chill girl, really.
I like that dynamic. I feel like in, or at least in most movies, we usually see the older sibling portrayed as like the knowing one who kind of keeps control. I kind of like that perspective on it. It'll make me rethink how my little sister looks at me, maybe. For the whole cast, because you just brought up the research, I know you all did a lot of prep. And actually, you can answer this too, but you did a lot of prep before jumping into filming. But is there anything you discovered about your own character or this story while you were on set in the moment working on a scene that all the research in the world never would have led you to?
Oh, I thought, if you don't mind,
Take it away.
when we went to visit the parsonage and we saw that, you know, there was like the little E like sketched in on the table. Did you guys see that? And they weren't sure if that was like Emily that did it or not, but they were like, I mean, maybe she did. Maybe she was a little bit, which I didn't. Lots of clues left everywhere. So, and I didn't see anything to do with that, like when I was looking stuff up before, and that was quite fun, like fun little thing. And when they were telling us about how they used to circle around the table. Yes. Do you remember? They would circle around the table and they were like, they'd like be talking about their stories and everything. Yeah,
the cast got to go to the real parsonage and kind of talk to these amazing women who just know everything about the Brontes and just walk in the rooms and. Yeah, I think it was amazing. Which was very evocative, I think. Yeah.
Anyone else want to add something that was discovered on set?
I mean, I feel like it's a bit of an interesting one for the character that I play, because he was a real person, but there's not an awful lot about him out in the world. So even when we went to the parsonage and we went to his grave, but there's very little known apart from what Francis has sort of included in the story. So I felt sort of a little bit as an outsider in the sort of prep I got to with Francis sort of create. We had sort of quite a lot of freedom really to sort of create, and so much of it was already on the page. But so I don't know if there's anything that I guess I'm probably not the best person to answer this question, because do you know what I mean? There's like a couple of blogs.
Like I think when we did the mask scene, there were certain things in that
scene
I knew.
Is so good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. But there were certain things I think we all felt like we'd all read it and we'd kind of rehearsed it. But then when we actually did it, I think we felt like, oh, there's something happening here.
Yeah.
And we were all really
that's
excited.
the thing. It's what they you do so much research and you do all the prep, and then like you say, it's kind of you only learn when you do the thing. So all of these surprises and intricacies come out the floorboards in a way. Do you know what I mean? So you suddenly get all these. Oh, I didn't even know that could happen. Yeah, so like it's just nice to be surprised.
Yeah, like when you put the mask on, and we did some of those long takes. There was just something about that moment where I think we were all kind of surprised, and we were like, and that was kind of early on in the shoot too, in terms of informing other things.
So eerie.
It was really haunting.
I think something I
struggled to sleep after for a while. Not gonna lie.
It's fine.
I'm going to come back to it a few weeks later. Again.
That's true. That's what we did.
No, I definitely found something about like with Emily's character, but the person being such an enigma and holding so much back, that feeling of like longing to get close to her and wanting to get in. I didn't know how much that would sort of like mean to me, like affect me. So I think that to me wasn't something I'd really thought about, but that longing to like know your family, like know your sister, and feeling like you don't, like, you know, that was something I think came up in the filming of it for me.
Which is really real, I think. Sometimes, you know, with siblings, you think that you're so intimate and you know each other so well, but in other ways, they're just total strangers to you. And I think it was very much like that for the real Brontes as well. Yeah.
But as you were explaining that, like, I feel like I got a really stressed look on my face because I'm like, do I really know my sister? Oliver, I'll come your way now. This is like an impossible question to answer, but what is the key to playing a character like him with some consistency, even when he has everything he believes in turned on its head?
Oh gosh. I mean, Frances, when we were in sort of our rehearsal sort of prep, she said the most genius thing. She said nothing bad's ever happened to him up until the moment he comes. So there was something kind of joyous about it. Sort of, he arrives and then it's the jumping off a cliff that happens and this whole world kind of comes crashing down. So that was quite an amazing place to start, just with the knowing, because I was sort of coming in being like that, but maybe, and she was like that, no, nothing.
No.
Had this idea,
Shut up.
idyllic, this sort of idyllic life, and this is his sort of downfall. This is his. So that was such an interesting, I guess, sort of interesting place to start. But I'm also not religious. I was sort of raised not so. It was so interesting in the prep. I spoke to quite a few. I mean, you put me in touch with a really like interesting kind of spiritual guy, and I was working on this movie with an actor called Chope Deriso, and his parents are pastors, and so I had these sort of really interesting Zooms with them because I became quite fascinated about the idea of safety that these people feel, that it's, you know, this idea of feeling held by the world, and if that's compromised, then what does that then do to your whole existence? So I don't know if that answers your question, Perry. But
it does. I mean, I said it before. There was no one right answer, or specific answer to that question. I'll end with, I have so many more things I want to ask you guys. But one thing that I was reading about in the press notes that fascinates me, because I don't think many actors get the opportunity to work like this on a film set, is the idea of acting without any marks. Is there anything about the actor-cinematographer relationship that you all discovered working that way, where there's more like handheld and fluid camera work that you might take on to a future film?
I love it.
yeah.
I didn't feel stuck. I feel like a lot of time with marks or with lighting, sometimes you go onto a set and everything is done for you and you just need to stand in a certain place. Here, a lot of the time, we kind of just got to feel it out and figure out where we wanted to be and what we wanted to do. And often, because we're using natural light in a lot of it and we're outdoors a lot, you get that freedom to just move about, and and the camera's following you, or you're following. It felt very, not to use the overused word organic, but it felt very organic. You know what I mean? It feels like it had that fluidity to it a lot of the time. Even if you're in a costume drama, even if you're in corsets, I never felt tense or stilted in that way, which is nice.
I feel that as well, that translates into the film. You know, what Nanu, our cinematographer, like what she did, it's, you know, she films the majority of it on her own, and so there's something so raw about the way that she works, and her and Frances together. So, and I feel like you feel that in the movie, this sort of,
and also
sorry, no, you go.
Yeah, no, it's good, unpolished.
Oh yeah, it's like unpolished,
it's not a precious thing.
You know,
do you know what I mean? It's not like pretentious in that way.
Yeah, it's not like this is completely perfect and here we go. Yeah, and also I think it depends for actors who's looking at you through the lens, and because Nanu's, I mean, she's brilliant cinematographer, but she's also like this gorgeous person.
Yeah, she's so
and you feel that she's
all,
loving what the actors are doing. And I feel like there was a kind of thing, a circle kind of happening with that as well with you guys.
She takes her time to light everything, and really, so it's precise, but then it gives us the freedom to do our thing.
Yeah.
Incredibly effective choice. Organic was the right word to use, because I feel like sometimes with a period piece where it feels like a little more rigid and inaccessible, but then you use that kind of technique, and I feel like you get more access to the characters.
It makes it feel like more like real, almost like you're more involved in like the kind of gritty reality of what their lives were really like. Like
no
through the
hierarchy,
camera work.
In a way. Sorry to interrupt, but it was it just felt like the times where you did do still, you know, what's
Static.
Thank you. That was like still shots, static shots. It was for a specific reason. There was a specific reason for that stillness, and the rest of the time it's shaky and we're there, and so that I think that is way more meaningful visually to have that, to make that choice between those two energies.
And when it did go still, like when we did the mask scene, like once the mask is on and it goes really still, it kind of adds like so much more of a dramatic effect to everything, and it makes it even more eerie because you're like, oh, everything's changed. It's all different.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to keep you here all day. They won't let me. I have so many more questions, but huge congratulations on your film. It was very, very powerful. You were all exceptional in it, and I cannot wait to see more work from you behind the lens. To everybody out there, keep an eye out for Emily. Thank you for watching this TIFF 2022 interview. We will be back with more soon.